At 5 months old, I wrote my name. By 2, I could take care of myself. At 3, I learned to make the foods I like. At 4, I read every magazine in the house. When I was 5, I started going out alone, walking 10 blocks to the library. I started in the kids section, and when I was done, I moved on to novels. Those authors lit up my imagination and fed my growing mind. But in my world, friends and affection were as scarce as blank pages. Before I knew it, I was 6.5, old enough for school, but nobody cared about me. My dad never paid attention. He always thought I was 4. Dad dragged me to Mom, and Mom said I was only 4. It would be one thing if nobody cared, but even my brother always bullied me. I would cry. In those moments, I would daydream about flying away from here. Aunt's dad had my brother write down every sales profit, then asked me to total them up. My brother hadn't even finished writing, and I blurted out the answer.
Check it if you don't believe me.
Dad didn't think I was clever because of that. He scolded me for peeking at the ledger and told me, if someone's bad, they must be punished. He meant to punish me, but that line hit me like a mirror. It made me believe parents can mess up, and kids can punish them too. The next morning, I went into my parents' bedroom and swapped Dad's hair oil for bleach. Dad groomed his hair like always, and only when he saw Mom's face did he notice his hair had changed color. To make sure my brother would inherit his ruthless used car lot, Dad started teaching busyness tricks, how to turn a Fay $200 clunker into Fay $10,000, glue the falling bumper,
Put it on there.
toss sawdust in the engine to muffle noise, and the big trick, use a power drill on the odometer so the miles drop like crazy. He said it like it was righteous, like he was passing down a secret playbook.
I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it.
I decided to punish him, so I smeared super glue all over his hat. We went to a cafe, and his hat wouldn't come off. Mom yanked and yanked, awkward and kind of hilarious. That night, they watched television while I read under the lamp. Dad stood up, marched over, ripped my book apart, and forced me to watch that trash with them. That junk made them laugh. To me, it was like wading through sewage. I aimed my anger at the television. The brand new set blew up in an instant. No one had any clue I had anything to do with it. Later, Dad closed a deal. The buyer was a very strict principal. She beat kids with a cane. Dad thought I was useless, so he decided to send me to that hellish school. When I heard I'd be going to school, I excitedly hugged Dad. He shoved me away. The next day, Dad dropped me off at the school. It was a run-down house out in the middle of nowhere. I didn't care about the location. Having classmates was enough to make me happy. But when the principal showed up, she cast a shadow over everything, and I felt an invisible pressure spreading in my chest.
You'll chop those off before school tomorrow, or I will come around. But! Did you say but?
They treated my 2 pretty braids like a crime that shouldn't exist. Luckily, the girl landed safely, and while she was sliding, she grabbed a bunch of flowers like a little winner. Meeting Jane was my lucky break. She was warm and kind, unbraided the girl's hair, and introduced me to everyone, Matilda, the new girl. But under her gentle exterior was a terrible secret. In class, Jane started quizzing us on the times tables. She purposely asked a brutally hard question. I answered first, 4927. She even worked it out in her notebook.
Matilda, you know how to multiply big numbers?
I read this book last year in mathematics at the library.
Jane ran off, thrilled, to the principal to ask that I be put in the higher grade class. But the principal didn't give her the time of day, called me a nuisance, and refused to let me advance. After school, I went home and told my mom about the day, but she was busy on the phone, acting like I was just talking to thin air. That night, Jane showed up uninvited to talk to them about my smarts. As you'd expect, the family didn't care about their daughter. Jane left with nothing to show for it. Early the next morning, the principal kicked off a full-blown public shaming. She called a boy up because he had stolen the principal's cake. She was going to punish him. The punishment was forcing him to eat another slice. At first, the boy thought it wasn't punishment at all, and happily gobbled it up. Then the cook brought out a whole cake and told him to eat the whole thing. The boy started to struggle, but the principal looked downright pleased. Finally, he couldn't eat anymore. His face went bright red. I stood up to cheer him on.
You can do it, bro! Yeah, you can do it!
my voice part pity, part urgency. The classmates joined in cheering too. Suddenly the boy got fired up, and not only finished the cake, but tried to lick the plate clean. That morning before class, the principal tore into my dad about the crappy car he sold. Because of that, she put me in detention again. After school, Jane invited me over to her house. We passed a house, the principal's house. Jane told me her secret. Actually, that house used to be Jane's. When she was 2, her mother died, and her father had to leave her with her aunt. Her aunt wasn't kind to her. When she was 5, her aunt killed Jane's father and took the house. Later, Jane left and lived in a cozy little house. All her precious keepsakes were left in the house that had been taken. Jane asked me to help her get her stuff back. We reached the principal's doorstep just as she was leaving. The 2 of us snuck into the room. Jane spotted her father's old chocolate box, but since her father died, she hadn't tasted chocolate again.
After supper.
The principal's car broke down halfway, and she ended up pushing it back. We got back to Jane's room, about to grab the keepsakes, only to find the principal returned early. She noticed the chocolate box had been tampered with and started scanning the room for intruders. Youths upstairs had to split up and hide, and the principal chased up the stairs.
Who's in my house?
Just as she was about to find me, Jane got clever, grabbed a heavy weight, and made a noise to draw attention away. The principal went to check it out, but at that moment, I accidentally knocked over some tools, the noise giving us away. The principal stopped short, leapt down from the 2nd floor into the kitchen, and searched everywhere, but found nothing. She stared at a rippling tablecloth that was slowly moving toward her. I curled up under the table, watching the principal's shadow, trembling. When she lifted the tablecloth, there was nothing underneath, because I was crouched up under the table. Jane saw I was about to give out, quickly opened the front door to lure the principal away, doubled back to the kitchen, dragged me into the storeroom, and we finally escaped her clutches. Back home, my father started raging again. Under his loud yelling, the pressure inside me snapped. I woke up with powers. I kept thinking about those who hurt me, and that power slowly came under my control. And just like that, I learned to fully control my power. To help Jane get the keepsakes back, I went to the principal's house again. This time, I stayed outside and telekinetically retrieved Jane's doll. Next, I messed with the clock, and the bell began to toll. I shifted the sofa so the principal took a nasty spill. The window slammed open and a gust of wind swept into the room. A heavy weight rolled down from upstairs with a clatter. I even took Jane's father's portrait off the wall and put it back where it belonged. The bell kept tolling, and the principal was scared out of her wits and utterly humiliated. But when I left, my hair ribbon got caught on the principal's car. The next day, the principal came to class vowing to unmask the culprit. When she pointed me out, I wrote on the chalkboard in chalk. The words sounded like Jane's father's voice. The chalk came alive, demanding the principal return Jane's house and property, or she'd get payback. Then the chalk wiped itself away, like it had punished her. The classmates stepped forward to check the scene, while the principal pretended to faint. She suddenly jumped up and grabbed a boy as a scapegoat. Seeing that, I immediately opened the window. The principal shoved the boy out the window, but I manipulated things so he safely flew back in. She freaked out and tried to bolt, but a boy shoved her onto the classroom globe. I spun the globe, making the principal spin around the classroom before being flung out. When she came to, she lunged at another girl. I controlled all the snacks, and they pelted the wicked principal like little raindrops. To her surprise, the older students had been waiting and teamed up against her. And just like that, the principal was chased out of the school. Jane finally moved back into her own house. Not long after, my parents came to pick me up from school. They were taking me out of town. But I didn't want to go. I wanted Jane to adopt me. Dad thought the paperwork was too much and tried to dodge it. But I had already prepared all the documents. My parents generously signed their names. At that moment, I finally found a real home. It was a happy ending for everyone. Jane became the new headmistress, and from then on we lived happily together.